Where the local authority assesses a house in multiple occupation, a risk assessment will be made for each individual dwelling, including shared rooms and common areas. This means that different hazard ratings can be expected for dwellings within the same building, depending on the location of the unit within the building, as well as any deficiencies to the individual dwelling itself. Travelling distance from the accommodation to the final exit is a consideration. For example, a bedsit on the ground floor, close to the final exit from the building, would not be assessed in the same way as a bedsit on the third floor. The escape route will generally be the main staircase. For any house in multiple occupation of 3 or more stories, it will need to be adequately fire protected, probably with fire doors and walls offering 30 minutes fire resistance. This would stop a fire breaking through from a room into the stairwell for at least 30 minutes, hopefully giving the occupants time to escape. Similar resistance would be required between each unit of accommodation. However, in certain circumstances, 60 minutes fire resistance may be needed. A well-designed timber fire door acts as a barrier to the passage of smoke and fire for a specified time, and will delay the spread of fire and smoke without causing too much hindrance to the movement of people and goods when in daily use. As a landlord, you don't need to be a fire safety expert, but some key points need to be considered. Getting it wrong can mean that a fire door meant to provide 30 minutes resistance might only provide between 10 and 15 minutes. In the middle of the night, or with frail elderly residents, this might not be sufficient time to escape. Firstly, it's vital to understand that a fire door will have been tested to the relevant British or European standard, and that to perform as intended, it must be constructed and installed in the same way it was tested. This will involve a specific type and size of intumescent strip, positioned in the sides and top edges of either the door leaf or door frame, which will expand when heated to provide resistance to a fully developed fire for a specified time. Secondly, it is often the smoke from the fire that causes fatalities or serious injuries, so cold smoke seals are often necessary to prevent excessive quantities of smoke passing through a door in the early stages of a fire. For convenience, they are usually combined with intumescent strips, although if necessary, they can be fitted separately. And for both the intumescent and cold smoke seals, the size of the gaps between the door leaf and the frame are critical. One of the reasons why the fitting of fire doors should be undertaken by a specialist. Finally, and self-evidently, an open fire door will not be able to do its job, so the fire doors also need to have self-closers to ensure they remain fully closed. It is therefore essential to make sure that the self-closers can be adjusted to enable people to get through them easily in daily use, particularly the elderly or disabled, but to fully close into their frames, overcoming any latches or air pressures in the building. If any internal windows or glazed apertures in fire doors are present and necessary in the escape route, they must be glazed with industry-approved fire-resistant glass, correctly installed with industry-approved glazing beads and fire-resistant or intumescent material. Like fire doors, they should provide fire resistance and sometimes insulation for 30 or 60 minutes as specified by the risk assessment. Reputable companies offering to carry out the work should understand how both active and passive fire protection products work and the standards they are required to meet. Installing fire protection products is a skilled speciality requiring in-depth training. We would recommend using third-party certified installers to undertake the initial work and to set up a regular program of inspection and maintenance. Properly working alarms connected to smoke or heat detectors play a large part in saving lives in the event of a fire. They provide early warning detection to the occupants, allowing them to escape before they're overcome by fumes or burned. There should be sufficient, properly designed and appropriately sited smoke or heat detectors with alarms in every home. There are no circumstances where no alarm in a home is acceptable or should be considered as being acceptable. Smoke detectors and heat detectors may be necessary. There are different types that will be specified in different locations. Heat detectors may be recommended in a kitchen, for example, to minimise false alarms from such things as burning toast. Different technologies are used, such as ionisation or optical smoke detectors. Manual call points, or break glass points as they're sometimes called, may also be required, as may additional sounders to ensure the alarm sounds at a sufficient level to wake people in their bedrooms. Visual alarms for those with hearing impairment are also available. All interlinked fire alarm systems essentially operate on the same principle. If a detector detects smoke or heat, or someone operates a break glass unit, then the alarm sounders operate to warn others in the building that there may be fire and to evacuate. In very large buildings, the property may be split into zones, again indicated and controlled at the panel. In this case, a zone plan should be kept by the panel to help quickly identify the origin of a fire signal. Larger houses in multiple occupation may need emergency lighting. The loss of mains electricity could be the result of a fire or a power cut, and the normal lighting supply fails. This may lead to sudden darkness and a possible danger to the occupants, either through physical danger or panic. Emergency lighting comes on when the main power supply fails. Emergency lighting is normally required to operate fully automatically and give illumination of a sufficiently high level to enable persons of all ages to evacuate the premises safely. Emergency exit signs are normally required to direct people to safe exits. Whilst the main message should be the provision of a well-protected property which not only enables occupants to escape quickly and safely, a primary means of firefighting equipment such as fire blankets and extinguishers could also be provided. It may be that it's safe to use it and further damage or fire spread can be prevented. It may be that occupants can't escape unless the fire is abated to some extent first. Fire extinguishers contain different materials such as water, foam, dry powder or carbon dioxide and are identified by a colour code. It's important to use the correct extinguisher depending on the type of material that's burning, such as wood, liquids, gases, metals or electrical items. A fire blanket is designed to extinguish small fires such as a chip pan or waste bin. They are often sited in the kitchen and consist of a sheet of fire retardant material which is placed over a fire in order to smother it. Generally, they're folded into a quick release container and are mounted on the wall for ease of storage and quick access. Many small fires can be put out quite safely. However, there is a great risk of being injured by tackling a fire which is already too far established. The general guide is to raise the alarm, call the fire and rescue service, then get out and get everyone else out of the building immediately, closing all doors behind you as you go. Only tackle a fire if it is within the very early stages. Always put your own and other people's safety first. Make sure you can escape if you need to, and never let a fire block your exit. Fire extinguishers are only for fighting a fire in its very early stages. Never tackle a fire if it's starting to spread or has spread to other items in the room, or if the room is filling with smoke. Around 70% of fire deaths are caused by people being overcome by smoke and fumes. It's extremely important that tenants are thoroughly briefed about the system when they take a tenancy or if the system is changed. Some landlords include information attached to the tenancy agreement and get a signature that it has been explained. Additionally, it's good practice to display a clear sign informing tenants what to do in the event of a fire, and again, the NLA logbook has an example you can use.